from Facebook.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Welcome to the Brightside. Joined in the studio by our very gorgeous guest, Chef Natasya Soetantyo. Did you get that right? Soetantyo. From Salt and Palm. If you've been in the Juche area, you might have seen it. Salt and Palm. They have an outlet in Sydney and here in Singapore as well. We're so blessed to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries.
Yeah, we also want to find out a little bit more about growing up in Bali. I mean, that's like mind-blowing.
Well, can you see? My skin color is green. I'm green with envy.
All right, we're jumping on to live radio in just a bit. Join us there. Jackson singing about peak hour traffic. Beat it! Yeah! 1FM 91.3. Good morning to you and welcome to the Brightside. You're hanging out with Carol and Lavinia, joined by another gorgeous guest this morning in the form of Chef Natasya Soetantyo.
Yes, she's the executive chef of Blue Ways Food Empire. I like that. Empire! And also the founder of Salt and Palm Sydney and in Singapore, newly opened down at Juchet. Welcome, Chef Natasya!
Thank you.
We were at your restaurant a couple of weeks ago, enjoying your beautiful food, modern Asian cuisine. I like how you take, traditional dishes, give it a modern spin, and there was lots of gorgeous flavors and textures. What's the secret?
Yeah.
What is your ethos when it comes to chefing?
Just cook whatever you'd like to eat.
Yeah.
That's first. Second, be creative.
Oh, definitely.
Because I see cooking as like my creative outlet. I don't really see it as just food as to eat, to just...
It's more than nourishment, right?
Yeah, more than nourishment. So
I can definitely see how creative you get. One of the dishes we got to try was the fried quinoa. And I was like, this is brilliant, like quinoa goreng, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't anyone come up with this earlier? And then you were, I could see the delight on your face.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, you like it. This is what we do in Sydney. And just to hear how you were talking, that kind of energy, and I can clearly see how it is indeed food is your creative output.
yeah.
Such an art form, because you graduated with a Bachelor in Visual Arts and Masters in Sustainability from the University of Sydney. How did you end up cooking? Was it something you always had in you?
It's a question I ask as well sometimes. Because I didn't plan this. But then when I study visual arts, I realized I love doing creative job. That's what I wanted to do in life. But it feels like, because previously I did media arts and painting as well. I feel like it's fun, but it's sort of very unstructured in a way. Like it's very like...
So you like a little bit of structure.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
I like a little bit of more framework. Cooking is like that.
Okay.
I feel like, especially if you're working in commercial kitchen, like in restaurants, it's definitely different with like home cooking. So you still get that creativity, but also you need to put it into systems so it works.
Because you need your consistency when it comes to food prep and organization in the kitchen and all that, right?
So it's enough creativity, but enough challenge and limitations as well.
And structure as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can see how her brilliant mind works, just by how you've answered that question.
Because if it were us, right, I'd be like, today's version of Hokkien Mee is like this. Tomorrow it might be a different version. See your luck lah. See how.
See your luck.
See my mood.
Oh my goodness, put that on a t-shirt. See your luck. But I do know that your family actually is in the F&B business. Am I right? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Has that influenced, where you are today?
It is. Like, I always, since I was young, Dad always cooks. And both my grandma from my mom and my dad always cooks. Family gatherings will always have, different food, different snacks. But I never thought of it as something, I kind of took it for granted in a way.
Yeah.
But then I realized as I grew up, and especially when I moved to Sydney, when I'm so far away from home, then I feel like, cooking is also one of the way of me connecting to home.
Wow.
Connecting to my identity back home.
Yeah. And
because I took it for granted.
How was the reception towards Salt and Palm or Indonesian food in Sydney? There's a lot of fan base, right? A lot of people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, it's funny because Australia is actually one of our neighbors, like from Indonesia, but they actually don't know much. They do, but not. It's quite limited. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a very, very sort of like skim of the surface. Interpretation of what Indonesian culture, heritage, and food is like. So, would you say that with Salt and Palm, you are able to educate everyone in a very flavorful way?
It's funny because my family used to own a family restaurant, Indonesian restaurant as well, back in Sydney. That was in 2013. Before that,
what's it called?
Teras Bali.
Okay.
It's non-existent now.
Okay,
but it's funny because I look at the crowd back then. Back then, a lot of people don't know the difference between Thai food and Indonesian food.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's kind of a bit ignorant in some ways, but it's funny because that was 10 years ago, and now in Australia, people know more about other culture, not just Indonesia, but they know the difference between Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesian food now. It's a lot more.
That's great.
I have a quick question. Do they still have this Singapore mee?
Singapore noodles.
Singapore noodles. When I saw it, I was like, did we even have Singapore noodles?
Yeah.
Is it still in existence?
I made an observation about Singaporean food in Australia. I noticed that it's usually belong to this bracket called Malaysian and Singaporean food. It's never
Hard to distinguish.
It's quite similar,
because
Yeah,
the
it is.
origins also are a bit murky, like who started what, who came up with
Unless
it.
it's chili crab, that is rightfully ours.
Oh.
okay?
Yeah,
we own chili crab.
Yeah, actually, there is a Singaporean chili crab shop in Sydney.
Yeah, the
So
food
that
scene
one is distinctly
Yeah.
Singaporean, but
Okay.
food scene is definitely changing in Sydney a lot. As you see, there's been a lot of influx of, there's more education, more awareness of the different kinds of Asian food. And you see it popping up in the malls even now.
Yes,
You don't just go
yes.
to a restaurant, you go to the mall, the food court, you see Din Tai Fung, you see toast bok, Brits talk everywhere.
Yeah.
We're chatting with Chef Natasya, and we are live on Facebook as well. She is the founder of Salt and Palm in Sydney and Singapore. In fact, we want to send you there to check out her food with a $100 dining voucher. Tune in to Facebook to see how you can do that. Back with more in a bit. Hello, everyone. So yes, we do have a $100 voucher for you from Salt and Palm. Chef Natasya is behind the goodness of Salt and Palm. Do you want to tell people why they should go there?
good food, great wines,
Oh,
good
yes.
vibes.
That's right.
That's
good
all.
vibes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And, speaking of the wines, you have a very extensive wine collection over at Salt and Palm. Your wine sommelier even brings in organic wine, for example. And just really, you will find a wine that you love and more.
Actually, not just that, the cocktails were amazing. It
Yes.
was a happy meal for me with your food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite dish that you prepare there?
Wow, it's like asking a mom to pick a favorite child. Hard, very hard, very hard.
Exactly.
You have a favorite,
I have
though,
those
I'm
struggles.
sure.
I do.
No, but cannot admit on air. Cannot, like a mom cannot say who her favorite child is.
I don't want to influence people. Like,
But
I want
wanna eat
everyone
your
to try
favorite
everything.
thing. I want to be in on it. Tell us. Let me in on the
I'm going to have a
secret.
guess. I'm not going to put you in pause. I'm going to have a guess, okay? Looking at how your eyes just twinkled when you talked about your quinoa goreng, I think that's your favorite.
Fried
Is that your favorite?
quinoa,
Yeah,
is it?
fried quinoa.
Well, that's from the day menu.
Oh.
it's a favorite in the day menu.
Yes,
Night one
yes.
different.
What's happening at night? What changes? Depending on how many wines you've had.
Well, nighttime I like the snacks, but I'm not gonna pinpoint which one. But
Okay.
the snacks.
All right. We're definitely got to go there for like cocktails and snacks as well.
Because we went there for lunch and already that was gorgeous. But I get a feeling that I need to try these snacks over at Salt and Palm with some good wine in hand. Okay,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, Chef, why did you, choose Singapore to set up your other outlet, Salt and Palm?
Yeah.
Well, I think credits also due to my brother and his team as well. So not just completely me, because we both wanted to do like a small project where we can do great wines, great food, but like with interesting flavors. So I thought, like Salt and Palm would be like an interesting brand to introduce to Singapore. So because we wanted to do like bring up our Australian background, but also Indonesian background in a one outlet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we tried to do.
Has your brother or you ever lived in Singapore, or you just visited as a tourist, or?
My brother lived in Singapore, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No wonder. So it kind of makes sense as well for him
Yeah.
to want to set up the second branch here.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice indeed. Well, I'm glad for this addition on the food scene for Salt and Palm, because that afternoon over at Salt and Palm still very fresh in my memory.
Yeah.
I can still taste it.
I'm kind of sad you didn't bring some fried quinoa, Just kidding.
It's
just
in our
kidding.
pocket. I can.
Any plans for expansion in Asia? Yeah.
Oh. Well, who knows in the future? It is called
Take over the world.
I mean, it is called Blue Waves Food Empire, right?
Yes, the empire is on its way.
Do you think the blue waves is, what does that mean? I feel like it's reflective of your growing up near the beach and the ocean, and, beach life in Bali and in Sydney.
Nice.
Like Bondi, is that kind of the
Yeah,
idea
that's why
behind
it's like Blue Waves, Salt and Palm. That's the same vibe.
Very idyllic, beach life, right? Yeah, I love that. We want to find out more shortly about you growing up in Bali, actually. But when we come back on air, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the Indonesian flavors and dishes being incorporated into the menu at Salt and Palm, yeah? And what we can expect in the near future as well. Do you change up the menu quite often?
Bits, a little bit, but we do more like specials. So we do different specials for like maybe 2 months period of time. But we actually focus on ingredients in those specials.
Very nice.
At the moment, we're doing torch ginger.
Yeah,
Poached ginger.
No, torch.
Yeah.
Torch ginger. I was like, poached ginger.
That could be something
What
else
is this
down the
madness?
road.
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Have
yeah.
you ever thought of poaching a ginger?
All right, we're gonna head back on air. Join us there. Also, comment so you can win. Okay, $100 voucher. See Chef Natasya.
Pink with Get the Party Started. Just so you know, the party has already started with Chef Natasya in the studio.
Indeed.
That's right. I want to say I love her official title, okay? Executive Chef of Blue Waves Food Empire.
Yes.
You must say it, Empire.
You should have seen how she was like, rubbing her hands together when we talked about,
It's
plans
very
for
expansion,
Asia.
yeah.
Try and rule the world. But yeah, also Blue Waves kind of represents, that beach life growing up in Bali and in Sydney. There's a lot of beach life there as well, beach culture. How has this beach culture kind of influenced your food?
Yeah, do you surf?
I don't.
Okay. But it's definitely, in the name itself, right? Salt and palm, very
Yeah.
beach vibe feel.
Yeah. Is that something you thought about when you wanted people to come and eat? Something that's idyllic,
It's
reminds you of island life, resort living.
yeah, it is. It is more so like that. Because I want people to just feel like relaxed, like they're on holiday. Like
That's exactly what I
Yeah.
thought when I ate your food, because like coconut oils infused into your dishes. It
Yeah.
did kind of make me think about being by the beach, so much so that I wanted a pina colada. But I was having a different cocktail at your restaurant. But it was
Yeah.
all very like good vibes. It just feels like you're eating good vibes and
yeah.
the sense of relaxation and
Yeah.
comfort. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about the experience. It's not just about the food or just the wine. It not just the ambience as well. It's like the whole package. So it's the experience of being relaxed in holiday, in a tropical
Yeah.
island kind of thing.
Yeah, so true.
You definitely have to check out Salt and Palm. Once again, they're down at Juchet. So we do see a lot of, Indonesian flavors incorporated in the dishes over there. Can you tell us what are some underrated aspects of Indonesian cuisine that you wish people would know about?
I think I just want people to know that there's a lot of diversity in terms of flavor profiles, in terms of our history, textures. Because I know, like in Singapore, people already know a bit about Indonesian food, like nasi goreng or ayam penyet.
Yeah.
But I feel like those dishes is not enough to define what Indonesian food is.
Good point.
Because I feel like Indonesia is very big and a lot of cultures as well.
Yeah.
So different cultures have different food, different flavors as well. So I feel like I want people to know that Indonesian food is more than just that flavor profile.
Are you
That makes
able
sense.
to capture that, that diversity to some extent, I guess, in Salt and Palm dishes?
Yeah, I do. Because some of the snacks, I focus more on the ingredients as well. Because maybe sometimes people think of Indonesian food, it's just the flavor. Like, the flavor has to be sweet and spicy. But it's not always the case. Not all Indonesian food is spicy. Some Indonesian food is influenced by the Chinese or the Dutch even.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting points.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you try to bring these flavors to Sydney, how does that differ from, the Singaporean customers or clientele? Did you have to make major tweaks?
Not in terms of the recipe base, because I do Because Indonesians cook with a lot of like bumbu or spice base.
Boom boom, I heard boom boom. Is boom what?
Bumbu.
What's boom boom?
It's a spice base for Indonesian cooking.
Okay.
Like the paste, right?
Yeah, the paste.
Yeah.
The paste is the same. I just tweak it to adjust with whatever ingredients that you guys have here in Singapore, but it's more different in presentation in terms of the difference between Sydney and Singapore.
How would those differences be? Like Sydney people want more color, or what is it?
In Sydney, it's more laid-back traditional look because they don't know Indonesian cuisine as much as Singaporean does.
Okay.
I feel.
So expectations are higher here because
I
we're
feel-
more familiar with the
yeah.
cuisine.
I feel like I need to bring something interesting or something new.
Oh.
To the
Yeah.
palate here.
Yeah.
That's
To
true.
impress us. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, Chef Natasya, thank you so much for joining us here.
No
Stay with
worries.
us because we want to hold you back to share with us in Brightside Travels what
Yes.
life is
Okay.
like growing up on Bali or in Bali. Oh my gosh, you spent a number of years there and then before moving to Sydney.
Yes.
So we would love to hear all about the island life and
Yes.
how this influenced you as a child growing up. Back with more of Chef Natasya in just a bit. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook, chatting with Chef Natasya Soetantyo. And of course, be sure to check out her outlet, Salt and Palm, here in Singapore in Joo Chiat. It's a lot closer than the one in Sydney, so I highly recommend going to Joo Chiat. But if you're in Sydney, you do want to find her there as well.
Maybe we can share with everyone how we can find out more about Salt and Palm, be it in Sydney or in Singapore. What are all the online, the social media accounts? Could you share it with us?
Social media accounts for
For
Salt
Salt
and
and
Palm.
Palm, yeah.
It's Salt and Palm SG.
For Singapore?
For Singapore, yeah.
Very good. So log on. It's going to make you hungry. Just be prepared, okay? The food pictures are beautiful. This is like one of the rare places where the food tastes as good as
As it looks, it does. Gurmit, one of our listeners, is asking, Chef Natasya, please, in future, set up a half-hour session to explain all the Indonesian sambals. There are so many magical types and I want to eat
Oh my
all of
God.
them.
There's a lot to talk about sambal. And
Yeah.
people always think sambal is just like
Sambal.
spicy.
Yeah.
Like a paste. But it's
Yeah.
not.
There's
It's
actually
not.
more dimension to it. People just think
Yeah.
it's just that one thing, just spicy.
I
or
need
how
to attend
spicy.
this class.
Oh, really cute is another Brightside buddy, Nojaha, has chimed in. She says it's known as bambu. Is it bambu? Is that how you
Bumbu?
pronounce it?
Bumbu.
Bumbu or rumpa, which is the spice paste. She says boom is something else.
I know, I want to call it because you eat the boom boom, then it's
she's
boom
just-
boom. The
she's just
experience
being-
is a boom boom.
I think so. Yeah, she's being very cheeky here. I like that. Thanks for your comment there. Yes.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us here on Facebook Live. Stay tuned as we chat to Chef Natasya about growing up in Bali. Join us there.
Good times. Greatest hits. 1FM 91.3.